First contact integration. The galactic Concord vessel Harmonious Unity drifted in high orbit above the blue-green world the natives called Earth. On the observation deck, Fleet Commander Sith Cal's 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the planet below. Such a violent world, he murmured, chitinous appendages clicking against the control panel. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, aggressive fauna, unpredictable weather patterns. How did they survive long enough to develop spaceflight? Senior analyst Tella Vriz glided forward, her translucent form shimmering under the ambient lighting. That's precisely why High Command wants them in the program, Commander. The preliminary assessment suggests humans possess unusual capabilities. Sith Cal made a dismissive gesture. Every emerging species believes itself exceptional, analyst. The integration program will provide proper perspective. The human delegates have arrived at Docking Bay 3, announced the ship's eye. Very well. Sith Cal straightened his ceremonial carapace. Let's welcome our newest recruits. Commander Hiroshi Sato stood rigidly at attention as the airlock cycled open, revealing the alien delegation. Despite 6 months of preparation videos, nothing quite prepared him for the reality of facing non-human intelligences. The lead alien, presumably Commander Sith Cal, towered nearly 9 feet tall, with a gleaming exoskeleton and multiple limbs that moved with unsettling precision. Commander Sato, the translator embedded in his ear, rendered the series of clicks and whistles into comprehensible English. Welcome aboard the Harmonious Unity. We trust your journey was comfortable. Thank you. Commander Sith Cal, Sato replied, careful to maintain eye contact with the upper set of eyes, as instructed in the cultural briefing. My team is honored to represent Earth in this exchange program. Behind him stood 5 other humans, the best Earth had to offer. Lieutenant Maya Cheng, Cybersecurity and Tactical Systems. Dr. Adrian Novak, Cynobiology and Medical Sciences. Chief Engineer Fatima Al-Zarani, Propulsion and Energy Systems. Security Specialist Derek Wilson, Combat Training and Weapons Assessment. Communications Officer Layla Okafor, Linguistics and Cultural Integration. Sith Cal's mandibles clicked in what the humans had been told was the equivalent of a polite smile. You will be joining cadets from 17 member species for the next 60 standard cycles. The program aims to assess compatibility for potential future cooperation. Assessment begins at 800 hours tomorrow. Added Analyst Friz, her voice a melodious hum. Rest cycles have been adjusted to human biological needs. Your quarters are in Section D7. As they were escorted through corridors filled with bewildering alien technology and architecture, clearly not designed with human proportions in mind, Sato caught whispers and translated snippets from passing crew members. Deathworlders. Primitive nervous systems. Barely achieved rudimentary fusion technology. Dr. Novak leaned close to Sato. They're not exactly hiding their low expectations, are they? Good, Sato replied quietly. Being underestimated has tactical advantages. The first assessment came sooner than expected. After a mere 4 hours of rest, alarms blared throughout their quarters. Emergency response drill, announced the ship's AI in stilted English. All cadets report to training deck immediately. When the humans arrived, first among all species despite their quarters being furthest from the training deck, they found themselves facing a holographic simulation of a ship in distress. Atmospheric containment breach, explained Training Officer Grell, a squat amphibious being with bulbous eyes. Priority 1. Seal ruptures. Priority 2. Evacuate casualties. Priority 3. Stabilize life support. The simulation began. Most species immediately divided into specialized teams according to Concord protocols. The humans exchanged glances, then did something that caused Training Officer Grell to emit a series of bubbling sounds that the translator rendered as extreme confusion. They improvised. Engineer Al-Zarani identified that the simulation's atmospheric controls could be rerouted. While other species methodically sealed individual ruptures according to procedure, the humans created a temporary atmospheric bubble around the most critical sections, buying time for casualty evacuation. Unconventional approach, Grell noted afterward, but effective. However, deviance from established protocols creates coordination difficulties in multi-species operations. Sato had simply nodded, saying nothing about how on Earth emergency responders valued adaptability over rigid adherence to protocols when lives were at stake. The pattern continued through subsequent days. In technical assessments, the humans scored well below average on theoretical knowledge, but demonstrated startling effectiveness in practical applications. During tactical simulations, they employed strategies that violated established Concord doctrine, yet achieved objectives with fewer resources. Most disturbing to the instructors was the humans' apparent comfort with physical discomfort. While other species required recovery periods after exertion, the humans simply pushed through fatigue. When environmental controls malfunctioned, sending temperatures plummeting in the training deck, most cadets required immediate medical attention, while the humans simply added layers of clothing and continued the exercise. Fascinating adaptation, Dr. Novick explained to a horrified medical officer. It's called shivering, involuntary muscle contractions to generate heat. By the third week, tensions had developed. During meal periods, other species increasingly segregated themselves from the humans. Instructors seemed determined to find scenarios where human physiology would prove disadvantageous. "They're trying to make us fail," Lieutenant Cheng observed during their private debriefing. "Or they're trying to understand our limits," Sato countered. "Remember, to them, we're as alien as they are to us." The true test came on day 35. All cadets were summoned to the tactical simulation chamber, a massive holographic environment capable of recreating any scenario. "Today's exercise," announced Commander Sithkal, "is a crisis response simulation. A colony world faces imminent destruction from multiple threats. Your task is evacuation and threat mitigation with limited resources." The scenario materialized around them. A settlement on a volcanic world with tremors indicating imminent eruption, hostile indigenous life forms approaching from surrounding terrain, and failing infrastructure. Most species immediately implemented standard evacuation protocols, focusing on the most vulnerable population centers first. The human team took one look at the situation and made a series of decisions that left the observers stunned. First, they split their resources, with Al-Zarani and Wilson heading directly toward the volcano. "They're going the wrong way," exclaimed one instructor. "No," Analyst Friz observed quietly. "They're addressing the primary threat." Using techniques developed on Earth for redirecting lava flows, the humans bought crucial time by creating diversionary channels. Meanwhile, Cheng and Novick established defensive perimeters using the environment itself to funnel the hostile creatures away from evacuation routes. Most significantly, they prioritized saving critical infrastructure alongside people, preserving power generation and communication systems that would be essential for long-term survival. When the simulation ended, the projected casualty rate was 12%. Less than half the accepted successful threshold of 30% in Concord doctrine. "Remarkable," Analyst Friz noted, reviewing the data. They approached the scenario holistically rather than following linear priority protocols. "But they violated 17 standard procedures," protested Training Officer Grell. Commander Sithkal's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "Perhaps, Officer Grell, that is precisely why High Command wanted them here." That evening, as the human team celebrated their success with a rare rest period, a priority message arrived for Commander Sato. "The High Command has authorized Phase 2, Sithkal informed him. "Beginning tomorrow, your team will face the proving ground. I suggest you rest well, Commander. No human has ever experienced what comes next." Sato nodded formally. "We look forward to the challenge, Commander." After Sithkal departed, Dr. Novick turned to Sato. "They still don't get it, do they?" "Get what?" asked Officer Okafor. Sato smiled slightly. That for humans, every day on Earth was a proving ground. We're just getting started. The proving ground. Dawn cycle aboard the Harmonious Unity found the human contingent already awake and preparing. Unlike their alien counterparts who followed strict preparation protocols before assessments, the humans had developed their own routine, a mixture of physical exercise, equipment checks, and tactical briefings that baffled the Concorde observers. They deliberately expend energy before trials, muttered Grell to analyst Frizz as they watched the humans through monitoring systems. Inefficient and counterproductive, yet effective for their physiology, Vriz countered. Their performance metrics improve after these sessions. The observation deck filled with high-ranking officers from various species as Commander Xithcal activated the briefing systems. Today's assessment had drawn unprecedented attention. 17 admirals from the Concorde fleet had arrived overnight to witness the proceedings. The proving ground, Xithcal announced when the humans arrived, represents the ultimate assessment of species capabilities under extreme duress. In 900 years of Concorde history, only 3 species have achieved satisfactory performance metrics. A holographic display activated, showing a massive environmental chamber deep within the vessel. You will face sequential challenges designed to test physical endurance, psychological resilience, tactical decision-making, and team cohesion, continued Xithcal. There are no protocols to follow. Survival and mission completion are the only metrics. Sato studied the display intently. Objective parameters. Primary objective: reach the extraction point with your team intact. Secondary objective: recover critical intelligence assets throughout the environment. Tertiary objective: neutralize hostile elements without excessive force. Define excessive, requested Security Specialist Wilson. Unnecessary destruction of environment or permanent incapacitation of simulated hostiles, answered Training Officer Grell. The Concorde values proportional response. The humans exchanged glances that the observers couldn't interpret. Time limit? Asked Lieutenant Cheng. 30 standard hours, replied Xithcal. Most species are extracted due to medical necessity within 10. Commander Sato nodded once. We're ready. The environmental chamber proved more challenging than anticipated. Designed to reconfigure itself constantly, it presented an ever-changing landscape of hazards, from toxic atmospheric zones to gravity fluctuations that made movement nearly impossible. Remarkable adaptability, noted a Theorian admiral, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing with interest. The humans are using environmental hazards to their advantage. Indeed, the team had quickly recognized patterns in the chamber's reconfiguration algorithm and begun timing their movements accordingly. When facing a zone of crushing gravity, they utilized the momentum from a previous low-gravity section to propel themselves through. Most surprising to the observers was the humans' reaction to the psychological warfare elements. When the chamber generated hallucinations designed to create confusion and fear, the humans appeared to recognize the artifice almost immediately. How are they distinguishing reality so effectively? Demanded Grell. Their evolutionary history, Vriz suggested. Earth's natural predators often use disorientation tactics. They've developed neurological filters against such manipulations. By hour 15, when most species would have requested extraction, the humans had collected 73% of the intelligence assets and neutralized multiple hostile elements using minimal force, often employing environmental features rather than the provided weapons. Most interesting, observed Xithcal, is their resource management. They're consuming minimal supplies, preserving energy when possible, yet maintaining peak performance during engagement periods. It's called pacing, explained the human liaison officer assigned to the observation deck. Standard wilderness survival training on Earth. Wilderness survival, repeated a confused Mevlonian representative. Your educational institutions teach survival against nature. Of course, replied the liaison. Doesn't everyone's? The blank stares answered that question. By hour 20, the Concorde observers had grown increasingly uncomfortable. The The humans showed no signs of requesting extraction despite facing environmental conditions that would have incapacitated most species. Instead, they'd established a systematic approach to the chamber, rotating team members through rest cycles while maintaining progress. "This is unprecedented," whispered an admiral to Sithkal. "They're treating it like a survival situation rather than an assessment." "Because to them, there's no difference," replied Friz. "I've been studying their historical records. Their entire development occurred in conditions we would classify as hostile. At hour 25, High Command authorized the final challenge, a simulation never before used in cadet assessment. The impossible scenario, Sithkal announced gravely, designed to force extraction by creating an unwinnable situation. The chamber transformed into a volcanic hellscape with toxic atmosphere, unstable terrain, and multiple hostile elements converging on the extraction point. According to all Concord tactical models, the only logical action was to request immediate extraction and accept assessment failure. The humans paused, studied the environment for precisely 11 minutes, then did something that would forever change Concord training doctrine. They went underground. Using techniques apparently developed for mining operations on Earth, the team created a subsurface passage beneath the most hazardous terrain. They repurposed their atmospheric filters to create a breathable microcosm within their tunnel system. Most shockingly, they used the chamber's own reconfiguration systems against it, triggering intentional seismic events that eliminated hostile elements without direct engagement. "This is not possible," stammered Grell, watching the display in disbelief. "They've invalidated the simulation parameters." "No," corrected Vriz, her form pulsing with excitement. "They've simply rejected your assumption about what's possible." When Commander Sato's team emerged at the extraction point, dirty, exhausted, but functionally intact with all intelligence assets secured, the observation deck fell silent. "Completion time, 29 hours, 47 minutes, announced the AI. "Assessment metrics, exceeded in all categories." The human team stood at attention before the stunned Concord officials who had gathered at the chamber entrance. Their uniforms were tattered, faces streaked with grime, but their posture remained perfect. "Assessment complete," Sato reported formally. "Request permission to return to quarters for recovery cycle." Sithkal's mandibles clicked rapidly, what the humans now recognized as his expression of extreme agitation. "The impossible scenario has never been completed," he stated. "It is designed specifically to be unwinnable." Engineer Al-Zarani couldn't suppress a slight smile. "With respect, Commander, humans don't believe in no-win scenarios." The statement caused a ripple of translated whispers throughout the gathered alien officials. Analyst Friz glided forward, her translucent form shimmering with intensity. "Commander Sato, your team has demonstrated capabilities beyond our predictive models. The High Command will want to understand your methodologies." "Simple adaptation," replied Dr. Novak. "Billions of years of evolution on a planet that was constantly trying to kill us." "I must report these findings immediately," announced Sithkal. "The strategic implications are significant." As the officials dispersed in obvious concern, Vriz remained behind, her voice lowered for the humans alone. "You should know," she said quietly, "that several military advisors are already recommending reassessment of humanity's classification. Some advocate for quarantine protocols." "Because we succeeded?" asked Lieutenant Cheng, incredulous. "Because you made the impossible look easy," Vriz replied. "In a galaxy of specialists, your species' generalist capabilities are frightening to some." Commander Sato met her gaze steadily. "We didn't come here to frighten anyone. We came to learn and cooperate." "Yes," Vriz acknowledged, her form rippling thoughtfully. "But perhaps what the Concord needs to learn is that the universe is more dangerous than we've allowed ourselves to remember. In that context, allies who thrive in adversity might be precisely what we need." As the human team made their way back to quarters, they passed groups of alien cadets who now regarded them with a mixture of awe and unease. The barriers of condescension had been replaced by something perhaps more problematic. Fear mingled with respect. "They're calling us Deathworlders openly now," noted Officer Okafor. The translation carries connotations of both dread and admiration. Sato nodded. Humanity has always walked that line, inspiring both fear and hope. Our challenge now is showing them we can be trusted with our own strength. In the ship's Strategic Command Center, the gathered admirals reviewed the assessment data with growing concern. "Their integration into the Concord changes everything," stated an elder Mevlonian. "If all humans possess even a fraction of these capabilities, then we'd best ensure they see us as allies rather than obstacles," finished Sithkau, "because I, for one, would not wish to face them as adversaries." On the observation deck, Analyst Frizz watched Earth rotating slowly below. Such an unassuming world to produce beings of such resilience. The old texts spoke of species forged in adversity, who carried the strength of their worlds among the stars. "Deathworlders," she murmured to herself. "Perhaps you're exactly what this complacent galaxy needs."